If you've just joined us, our guest on this episode of Question Time is the Minister of the Niger-Delta region, Usani Uguru. What is your response to the incessant attacks on refineries within the Niger-Delta region?
My response will only be an appreciation to the concern of the very people of the Niger Delta. Well-meaning indigenes of Niger Delta have regretted such events. They have sent apologies to government in writing, by delegations and so on. And that impresses me that a time has come when people can be more reasonable than just blind agitation. I don't even believe this is on account of any form of agitation. The motives we don't know, other than to ascribe them to economic sabotage, which every Nigerian should feel bad about.
Is the federal government coming up with strategies to checkmate the activities of those involved in this act?
This is not the invitation of the federal government to tackle the menace. The federal government has always been concerned about securing every economic infrastructure in the country. And so this one event is not the invitation of federal government to tackle it, except that whoever is doing it, we don't know the purpose for which he is doing it. Or those who are doing it, we don't know the purpose for which they are doing it. So federal government has a continuous program to protect economic infrastructure in the country, just as any other life and property.
Are you worried that 470 million naira is being lost daily as an account of these activities?
To suggest that we are worried, it means we are not examining the intensity of the problem in its proper dimension. It's beyond worry. It is beyond worry, because if you look at the state of the economy today, you should know that our futures are endangered. And you can see the implications in the various economic indices of the state. The challenge of foreign exchange, rising, diminishing consolidated revenue, threats of security and insecurity, threats of human lives and property, and other aspects of insecurity. All this tell you that this government only has a program of sacrifice and prudence to attempt to sustain what a sovereign state should look like. So it is disturbing, and every well-meaning Nigerian should lay aside any other consideration.
What's your response to the reported case of illegal refineries in Port Harcourt?
Well, I see on certain programs such refineries being destroyed. It is beyond our action to do about them. But the area in which the ministry has a mandate to contribute is by the orientation, the enlightenment thing you're talking about, or the mass literacy thing you're talking about, and the engagement of the people who are doing this. And government so far has shown enough goodwill by saying all programs that were going on in respect of this should continue. I thought that should give anybody a signal that the administration means well for the region. And again, our development in terms of infrastructure is continuous. We've been in the field assessing, so that it will be a basis for us to determine what we will do further to occupy the people. But these illegal refineries, as we hear, it's better for people to come and take licenses to establish refineries instead of operating them illegally, because that in itself has the problem of discharging the byproducts of the waste so processed from the crude. So it adds to the problems. So we would advise that they should not continue.
Will the federal government be coming up with measures to check the activities of those involved in this act?
When I consider that those who are involved in these activities of vice are within certain ranges of our demographic stratum or strata, it means taking care of that segment of the population should automatically attend to that problem, which is what we are preoccupied with. But particularly to say we know what to do to stop the refineries, as we know, we will only advise the agencies responsible or charged with that responsibility.
Poverty reduction is key in the Buhari's administration. How soon can this be realized in the Niger Delta region?
You know, poverty is like a virus. You may be rich today and poor tomorrow. And that is how the challenges that come with it will continue to inform our frames and reframing of how we deal with poverty reduction. Dealing with poverty reduction, of course, you know, is embedded in other programs like food security, education, creation of jobs, which are primary and pivotal to the administration's policy. So we are dealing with that, except that the economic state of the nation is a great challenge toward achieving this.
You are taking over a ministry that has recorded a huge case of corruption. So what are you doing to set the record straight and to bring it to standard in terms of transparency?
That becomes a matter of the moral values upheld by the operator of any system. And I can only say, for those who have interacted with the ministry within the short period we have been here, they can testify, and they're in a better place to give that testimony. For us so far in this ministry, we have problems doing what we want to do, but we are not relenting doing what we must do. So it's a continuous process.
Now, what are you doing to enlist the support of the home state governments in your plan to reform the Niger Delta region?
So far, we are getting good cooperation from the governments of the states in the region. We have extracted some commitments from Edo State, from Ondo State, and this morning we just finished a meeting with the government of Akwa Ibom State. We have gone to a level where they are ready to give us a certificate of occupancy for a parcel of land for the development of an industrial park, because we are getting toward a point where we encourage a lot of private and public-private partnership in executing what we have to do. So to this extent, I would say we are enlisting them and they are cooperating well with us. Because whatever we are designing, we are also looking at how the state in itself can derive benefits from our programs. So far, we have not got any reason to show that we have a complaint against any state. We are having their cooperation, and we are pleased with that.
Tell us what your plans are in the area of youth development and job creation in the Niger Delta region.
In respect of youth development and job creation, of course, when you create jobs, you are developing the youth. When you send them to school, you are developing the youth. When you provide enabling environment for them to set up on their own artisanal engagements, you are developing the youth. So the youth development of the people in the Niger Delta region has several fragments, and we are dealing with them all, at the same time. Simultaneously, we are dealing with them. And so I want to feel that when we succeed in what we are doing, the results will be very encouraging.
What's your reaction on the move by the federal government to initiate the plan to develop a Northeast Development Commission? Don't you think this will distract your own move in the Niger Delta region in terms of a division of resources and attention?
The first question is to ask whether the money that is going to Northeast, if it did not go there, it would have come to Niger Delta region. So before you lay an assertion in that regard of the anxiety of the people, is to answer that question. So if the money that was meant for Niger Delta has been depleted to go to the Northeast, then we will have a valid complaint. But thinking as a Nigerian that you are and I am, would we say those people should be left in that condition? If you were born during the Civil War, you will imagine what it means for people to be displaced in the face of not even a just war as such, but invasive war where you're armless. You're not armed at all. So anybody who is a Nigerian should sympathize with that situation and even urge the development of that part of the country. I support it. It's not a distraction. It's not a depletion of the resources for Niger Delta region.
Now, still talking about the plans to set up the Northeast Development Commission, will this not be setting you up against the militants who might feel they are being abandoned, or the attention given to them in the previous administration is now being channeled to another region? Will there not be such a ripple reaction from the militants in the Niger Delta region?
That is when we stop giving them the attention. But we are even more determined to give them the attention. And we are only requesting that they allow us to give them the attention. For instance, last week we were in Ondo State. We were challenged not to go to our sites. It was a very terrible situation. So in the face of that, who do you blame? Do you blame Northeast or the government for taking resources to Northeast when the people who should be clamoring for development are negating the very efforts of government to develop them? These are rather diversionary antics to cause people who have pollutions in their third margins to begin to accuse government of what is not existent. So I think as a Niger Deltan, as somebody from the region, and with all our brothers who are well-meaning from that region, we should be happy to allow development to take place. If all other parts of the country are developed, it means that every other thing will be concentrated in the region. So we don't have a reason to complain about elsewhere being developed. And anybody, of course, you know, every evil has an excuse. So anybody who is doing destruction will have a reason. The question is whether that reason is genuine or not. So that should be our concern to examine.
Honorable Minister of Niger Delta, Mr. Usani Uguru, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Question Time, and also for making our time to tell us about your plan to reform the Niger Delta region and how you intend to tackle the huge challenge in the area. Thank you very much indeed, and we also wish you the best of luck in your plan.
Welcome.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Gbenga. You're welcome. Great pleasure.
And that's as much as we can take on this episode of Question Time. You may also send us your comments on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. Join us next week on another exciting episode of the show on Channels Television. Many thanks for watching. I'm Gbenga Ashiru saying goodbye.